Hello there! This video will show you how to create frequency distribution tables and graphs both manually and using the pivot tools and pivot tables function in Excel. This video will also show you how to create mean scale scores for multi-item survey measures, how to compute means and standard deviations using pivot tables and manually, and also how to use the standardized function to compute and compare Z-scores. So this video will really give you everything that you need to complete your first Excel assignment. And this Excel assignment will give you an opportunity to get your hands on some real-world data that was actually published in real research. So you'll notice that we're going to be recreating some portions of a results and methods section from a real live journal article that you see cited right here. Take a minute to read over the learning objectives of this assignment and the study overview of your assignment, and then we'll be ready to move on to working through Excel to answer all the questions in this assignment. Okay, so let's just take a look at the data and get familiar with it really quickly before we start playing with the tools in Excel. So this data comes from Schroeder and, let's see, Epley in 2015, and they did a study looking at how a speech, like a vocal speech versus written words, would have an impact on recruiters' perceptions of their intellect and their hireability. So if you look at the data, you'll see that there were two different conditions that these recruiters were randomly assigned to. The audio condition required the recruiters to listen to the spoken word, and the transcript condition had them read the same exact thing that was in the audio, but just a written version of it. Then all of these recruiters rated the applicant that they either heard or read their speech on competence, how thoughtful they are, their intellect, how likable they thought the person was, and whether or not they had a positive or a negative impression. Notice that negative impression is reverse coded such that higher scores mean better, more positive impressions. Also, they rated how likely they would be on a scale from, I think, 0 to 10 to hire that particular candidate. They also measured the age of the recruiters and the sex of the recruiters. So if we look at the assignment, the first thing that I ask you to do is use the Countif function to determine the number of males and females in the sample. And you'll see that it's reported in the methods section for experiment 4. So there's tons of experiments in this article, and I will post this for you all to read. But we are really focused on experiment 4. So let's scroll down to that. We're at experiment 2. Let's go down to experiment 4. Oh, 3B. All right, professional recruiters. So we're basically going to use this raw data to confirm that there are in fact 9 males, and because there's 39 participants total, that means there should be 30 females in this data. And we're going to use the Countif function to determine the number of males and females in the sample. So just right here within, make sure you're saving all your work in Excel. You will be submitting this along with your assignment, so make sure you're saving everything you're doing here. It should look just like what I'm creating. So the way that you use the Countif function, and let's go ahead and put males equals and females equals. Let's scroll over a little bit. So we're going to use and I'm going to double click here just so it fits. We're going to use equals count. Just start typing it and you'll see Countif pop up. Double click that. And you'll see it asks you for the range and the criteria. So for the range, you just highlight all of the data for whatever variable it is you're trying to count the frequencies for. So all of this data. An alternate way to highlight this, instead of clicking and dragging, would be to click the first one, go down to the last one, hold the Shift key, and click the bottom, and it'll highlight everything in between. Then you put a comma, and we want to count males first. So just select any any cell that says male, and then hit enter. Hey, there's the 9 males. Equals, for females, Countif, double click Countif. Again, select the first female here, go down to the last cell in this data. Again, hold Shift and click to highlight everything in between, comma. Now we want to count the number of females. So now you can really just copy and paste this. So hit Control C to copy and just paste that right into there. Now I don't love the way this looks, so I'm going to highlight this, go to Layout, Autofit, Contents. That looks better. I'm going to scoot this over too. Okay. So now let's just again confirm we had 9 males. Awesome. So now we're going to use the charts tool to create the appropriate frequency distribution graph that displays this data right here. And I'm going to show you how to make sure that you label the X and the Y axis appropriately. Then we're going to paste it into this assignment. So if we go into Excel, kind of double click to get out of copy mode, just highlight your males and females and get rid of the equals because it'll keep the equals in the chart and you don't want that. So let's get rid of the equals. So just highlight this data, go to Insert. You want to use this column or bar chart, and there we go. Now we can edit this in Excel or in Word, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, hitting Control C to copy. I'm also going to scoot it over to get it out of the way a little bit. Get over here. So I hit highlight it, Control C to copy, or right click, copy. Go into your Word document, Control V or right click, paste. Now I'm going to make some edits to this chart, and the default was a bar chart, and that is appropriate. Think about why that is. Why would a bar chart be the best way to display sex, males versus females? So hopefully you realize that sex is a discrete variable. It's nominal and it's discrete, so we would use a bar chart to display the nominal data. It's just a category. There's no true numeric value to it. So now let's go up to the Design tab. Make sure your table or your graph is highlighted. Click on Design. Go to Add Chart Element, and we're just going to add a horizontal and a vertical axis label. So this is going to be sex. And then over here, we could say number of participants or number of recruiters. I'm just going to go with number of participants. Okay. Now, once you have this done, if you want to move it around and do stuff, then you want to click here under Layout Options and do Square. You can move it around and do whatever you want with it if you do that. Just make sure that you scoot that text, just hitting Enter here to get it out of here. I'm going to go ahead and shrink this a little bit. It's taking up too much room. Let's get it to a size I like. This got all wonky. Let's see if I can click it and drag it. Yeah, not too bad. Maybe make it a little bit longer so it looks nice. And just kind of play with the formatting. Also, if you go up to the Design tab, you can see there's all kinds of nifty built-in formatting that you can do for this. You can also change the colors. So I think I'm going to change it. Ooh, I like green. So I'm going to make it look like that. You play with it. Make it look however you like. All right. So now you've got number 2 complete. Now let's go ahead and do number 3. Oh, and real quick, just to show you, if you want to add any kind of labels, like data labels, you can have that here. It'll display the frequency for each. Just an extra tool that's nice. Okay, so now we are going to use the Pivot Tables tool to create a frequency distribution table for higher rating. Then we're going to copy and paste it. So let me show you. The Pivot Tables tool is really nice. Here we manually created a frequency distribution table, right? We did the Countif function. But now we can use Insert, Pivot Table, and then we're going to select just the higher rating. And you can just click the little K above higher rating to highlight all of your data. And make sure that we want to put this in a new worksheet. So make sure you select that and click OK. Now go ahead and right click here and rename this tab, and we'll say frequency higher rating, just to label it so we know what we're looking at here. And now what you want to do, make sure you're clicking into this pivot table field, grab higher rating, go down to values, grab higher rating and go to rows. And now you'll see all of the values for higher rating and how many times those appeared in the data set. You also see there's this blank thing here. Let's get rid of that. So we'll click this little box with an arrow pointing downward and go down and unclick the blank. It'll get rid of that. I'm going to go ahead and copy this and paste it into my Word document and then make some edits to make it look nicer. And I want you to do the same thing. So I'm just going to click right here. Again, Control-C copy, Control-V to paste. Now it's bothering me because it's not aligned with my number here, so I'm just going to click it and scoot it over. Now I want to show you how to do a couple of things. So I told you, use the table layout tool to center the text. So this is what that looks like. Click on the table, go up to layout, and then right here, see where it's like centered, align center? Click that. Then you can use the design tab to make it look however you want. So play with it, see what looks good to you. I kind of like this one. Maybe I should go with green so it matches my other one. Get back over there. Also, you want to change this from saying row labels to saying what it actually is, higher rating. And then here you could say number of recruiters with that, maybe even number of, recruiters with rating, or that provided rating. Maybe that's more descriptive. So essentially, this is your X, right? Your variable, and then this is your frequency. How many recruiters gave that hiring rating? And go ahead and keep your grand total here. This just tells you your sample size, confirming that you have 39 recruiters in your sample. Okay, now let's move on to number 4. We're going to use the pivot chart tool to create a frequency distribution graph for this higher rating. So let's go ahead and go back into Excel. If you just click anywhere in your table and you go up, make sure Analyze under Pivot Table Tools is selected, and then just click Pivot Chart. Column is the default, so let's go ahead and use that. And now let's take a look at this real quick and think about the appropriate way to display this data. Now I can edit this table in Excel or in Word. I'll show you how to edit it in Excel right now. And think about this. This is a bar chart, right? The bars aren't touching. Well, this is problematic because higher rating is technically on an interval scale. So we need to have a histogram displaying our data. So click on your table or your chart, go to Design, Quick Layout, and select the layout that has the bars touching, like that. Now this layout already has placeholders for our axis titles, so let's just go ahead and enter them right now. So this is going to be higher rating. And then what did we say here? We said number of recruiters. Let's just steal that. Control-C to copy. See if it'll let me do that in Excel. And Control-V to paste. Nice. Okay, you can get rid of this thing that says total. We don't need that. And then we just click on this graph, Control-C to copy, go into our Word document, Control-V to paste. Now notice that the chart is on a different page from the original question prompt, and I don't like that. So I'm going to click right before the 4 and hold Control and hit Enter, and it's going to create a page break for me. Alright, so right now I've got everything labeled. I'm going to go for green though. It's kind of my theme right now. So I'm going to change my colors and do green. Again, I want you to design it however you want. Have fun, be creative, play around with it. So there's our graph. Nice. Okay. Now we are going to use the average formula to compute the mean scale scores for intellect rating. So go ahead and take a look at our original data. You'll see that I color-coded this for you, and the way I did that was I just highlighted this and then picked a color here, so that you'll notice that the intellect rating is going to be the mean scale score for these 3 items. And if you look at the journal article, it really highlights that for you in the results section. So it says the job candidates had greater intellect, or in other words, were more competent, thoughtful, and intelligent. And you see those items reflected here, right? Competence and thoughtfulness and intelligence. So I'm going to go ahead and create my mean scale score across those 3 items so that all the numbers here represent the mean or the average for each person across these 3 items. So I'm going to type equals AV and then find average. Double click it. And then I'm just going to highlight these 3 items. and hit enter. Now, luckily, Excel is smart, and I don't have to do that over and over again for each row. I can go here, go down to the little box at the bottom right, look for the plus sign, click and drag down, and Excel knows that I want to do that for every single row of data. And just to check to make sure everything went okay, I can click on this box, look up here, and confirm that it gave me the average for C3 through E3 for this row, and then C4 through E4 for this row. And you'll see that throughout. I just copied the formula down and used each row of data. So now we need to use the average formula to compute the mean scale scores for impression rating. You'll see in the journal article, positive impressions of the candidates, likable, positive, and negative impressions. So if we look here, you'll see those reflected in the raw items. So we're going to use the same process as before, but now we are going to use the impression scores. So equals AV, double click average, highlight those, and hit enter. Now just to demonstrate something, if you are trying to figure out an average for different columns that are adjacent, you can do it like this. So equals average, double click. Let's say I wanted to take the average of intellect and positive impression. I could just click this, comma, click this, and hit enter, just to show you how to do that. But that's not what I want to do. Average, and then likable, positive impression, and negative impression. And yet again, we don't have to do that for each column or each row. We can just click, wait for the little plus sign at the bottom right, drag down, and it does it for all of our participants. All right. So now let's pop back into our assignment. So now we're going to use the pivot tools or pivot tables tool to compute the mean and standard deviation for all three of our ratings. So the intellect rating mean scale score, the impression rating mean scale score, and then the hiring rating. And we're going to want to do that separately for the audio and the transcript groups. And what we're essentially doing is we're recreating these means and standard deviations that accompany these t-tests that are reported in the results. Now, we're not to t-tests yet, so I'm not going to show you how to do the t-test, but I am going to show you an easy way to figure out the mean and standard deviation for each scale, for each group. So now let's hop into Excel, and we're going to use the pivot table function to create a table that displays the mean and standard deviation for intellect, impression, and higher ratings for both the audio and transcript group and the grand total overall. So you can imagine if you were doing this by hand, it would take a long time, but Excel makes it pretty simple, assuming you follow the steps I'm about to show you. So the first thing that we need to think about is when you use the pivot tables tool in Excel, you either need to look at all the data together and include that, or you need to look at data that's adjacent. So because we are interested in looking at the condition and how the intellect, impression, and higher ratings differ based on condition, I'm going to go ahead and scoot condition over here next to these ratings. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the column to the right of higher rating, and then just click Insert. So now we have a blank column here. Now I'm going to right click the column that's condition, cut it, right click my empty column, and paste it. See, it's the same thing as it was over here, and now I'm just going to right click this and delete it. Goodbye. So now we have all the variables that we want to include in our table adjacent to each other in our data. So let's go ahead and just highlight those letters above those columns. So the intellect rating, impression rating, higher rating, and condition. Click on Insert, and then select Pivot Table, and then select OK. And we do want it to go to a new worksheet, so make sure that that's selected before you click OK. So what we want is we want a table that have the rows showing the two different groups, audio and transcript, and then the columns representing the mean and standard deviation for the different ratings that the recruiters made. So we're first going to say we want condition, right? That's audio versus transcript. Click and drag that down 2 rows. You'll see that there. Then we are going to click and drag intellect rating to columns. Intellect rating to values, and we're going to do that twice. and then impression rating down to values twice. And make sure that when you drag it down, that the little green line is at the bottom so that you have 2 intellects, 2 impressions, and then 2 hires. So scroll all the way to the bottom, and then click and drag. Click condition, scroll all the way to the bottom, and then let go. So just to double check your work, and you can always do it again if you need to. If you need to remove fields, you can click here and hit remove field if you need to start over. But you should have intellect, intellect, impression, impression, hire, hire. Oh, look at this, count of condition. I screwed up. That's okay. Let's go into our table, scroll down, click on this arrow, remove the field, and let's do that again. We want higher rating right there. Bam. All right. Now, a couple things we need to do before we have what we actually need. Right now, it's just telling us that there's 21 people in the audio group and 18 people in the transcript group. That's what the count represents, but that's not what we want. We want the mean and the standard deviation. So before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and click this little arrow here, and I'm going to uncheck the blank because I don't want that in my table. Now it looks a little cleaner. And now I'm going to go down to my values over here, and let's see if I can stretch this out. Yeah, that's nice. And I am going to change this from count to mean, and then change this one from count to standard deviation. So you just click the little arrow right there, go to value field settings, and click the word average. Then click OK. Now we've got our averages there. Now for the next one, count of intellect rating. Click the arrow, value field settings again, but now we want the standard deviation. So let's select that. This is the standard deviation for the sample. This would be the standard deviation for the population. Since we're working with a sample, we're going to go with this, and then click OK. Now we're going to follow the same process for the remaining values. And I can just like scroll, there we go, so I can see it all. So, and again, I just found the double-sided arrow and just kind of scooted this up to make life easier. So we still have 2 counts of impression, but we want this to be a mean and this to be a standard deviation. So we click the little arrow next to count of impression, the first one. Click value field settings, select average, click OK. The next count of impression, click the arrow, value field settings, standard deviation, or STD DEV. Now we're going to follow that process again for these 2 counts of higher rating. So we'll click the arrow, value field settings, average. Okay. Click this arrow, value field settings again, and standard deviation. All right. This is still not beautiful. It looks kind of messy right now. So let's go ahead and have Excel adjust the rounding here. If we look at the journal article that we're trying to recreate, we can see that these values are round to the hundredths place or 2 decimals out. So that's what we're going to do in Excel. So just highlight all of your numbers, then right click, go to Format Cells, select number, and then 2 decimal places should be indicated. If you need to change it, there's a little arrow here, or you can delete that and manually type in a number. Just make sure this says 2, and then click OK. Hooray! It fixed it. So we still have some tweaking to do to make this a beautiful table, because right now it's kind of messy. This is all weird. So let's go ahead and do that part in Microsoft Word. So let's go ahead and copy this. So I highlighted the whole thing. Just hit Control C to copy. There's our happy dancing line. And then let's paste it into your assignment right here, right above A, where you're going to be answering some questions about this table in a minute. Control V to paste, or you could just hit paste right here. First thing you want to do, you notice that this table goes off the screen. That's going to make it kind of tough to edit. So click on this little 4-cornered arrow right here to highlight the entire table. Go up to Layout, Autofit, Window for now. Eventually we'll autofit contents once we get this edited, but for now we just want it to fit on the window. So if we look here, I'm going to do something else to kind of make things more visible on my end. And I'm going to go to Design, and I'm going to pick a design that I like. Let's see. Ooh, I kind of like this one. That looks cool to me. Pick whatever design you think looks professional and good. Anything you want. Be a little creative with it. So now we are going to change this thing that says row labels to condition. C-O-N-D-I-T-I-O-N, condition. This says average of intellect rating, but that's not APA style. This should be an italicized M for mean, because in stats we don't call it an average, we call it a mean, with a subscript that says intellect. So I will show you how to do that. I'm going to be kind of lazy here, and I'm going to delete everything but the word intellect. And then I'm going to put an M, Control I for italics, or you could literally hit the italics here, and then uppercase, so Shift M. And then I'm going to highlight this word intellect. Go up here, make sure the Home tab's selected. See this little X with a subscript 2? Click it, and now it turns that into a subscript. Now I'm going to be lazy again and just copy this and paste it here, but now it's not going to say M, it's going to say standard deviation, or SD in APA style. So SD. It even kept my italics. How nice. All right, so now I'm going to do the same thing for impression and higher. So I'm going to delete everything but impression. And here in a minute, we'll confirm these numbers with the journal article. Control I for italics, Shift M for uppercase M, and then highlight the word impression, subscript in the Home tab right here, the X with the little 2 at the bottom. Bam. All right, let's do the same thing for standard deviation. So I'm just going to copy this, Control C, highlight all this, Control V, but change this M to an SD. All right. These little red lines are fine because impression and impression is not a word, but that's okay. You can ignore it. All right. Now the higher rating. So we're going to get rid of everything but the word higher. Okay. And remember, this is the average or the mean. So italicize, Control I italics, M. Now I'm going to highlight using without the mouse. I'm going to just hold down Shift and hit my right arrow to highlight the word higher. You can, click and drag if you like, but since it's a short word, I think that's easier. And we're going to subscript it. Same process as we used before. Control C to copy, and now this M is going to be an SD for standard deviation. All right. This still isn't beautiful. It's kind of bothering me right now. So let's do a couple things to make sure it looks really nice. So let's highlight all of our mean, standard deviations, and the values. Go up to Table Tools Layout, and I'm going to center all of these with this button right here. Okay, now we're starting to get better. And now we have some columns that are a little too big for the contents, and I always like to make sure that the columns are just big enough to fit what's inside them. So hit the little four-cornered arrow at the top left of your table, go to Layout, Autofit, Autofit Contents, and click it. Now it's nice and small. And you can even scoot it. Or actually, you can highlight the whole thing. Go to Home, and you can center align it on the page. Hey, I did a pretty good job just trying to do it on my own. All right, it's looking good. Now let's confirm these values against the journal article that we've been looking at. So let's scoot this over here. Oh, and if you don't know how to do this already, you can just click to where it's letting you just and go all the way to the side of your screen, and it automatically fills up half the screen. Do the same thing with our journal article. And I'm going to hit Control and scroll up on my mouse to zoom in a little bit, just to that section that's relevant with this study. So let's look at it. The recruiters believed that the job candidates had greater intellect, were more competent, thoughtful, and intelligent when they listened to pitches. So here's listened would be the audio group. Bam, there's that 5.63. Bam, there's that 1.61. Then when they read pitches, so reading would be transcript. There's that 3.65. There's that 1.91. Let's see, the recruiters also formed more positive impressions of the candidate. And that, remember, we created the mean scale score for more likable, more positive, less negative impression when they listen to pitches. 5.97, right? Listening is going to be audio, 5.97. Then when they read pitches, transcript, 4.07, and you see those standard deviations here as well. Finally, they also reported being more likely to hire the candidates, right, higher rating, when they listened to pitches, audio, 4.71, standard deviation 2.26. Then when they read the same pitches. Transcript, 2.89 right there, 2.06, pretty close within rounding error right there. So you just recreated results from a real journal article. Congratulations. All right, I want you to answer A, B, C, and D on your own. Make sure that you are explaining this based on the values and what you know about the mean and standard deviation as well. So now let's go ahead and recreate this beautiful, this is actually called a joint frequency histogram, and we are going to create that right now. So I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, I'm going to back to Excel, and we're going to copy and paste this. Copy and paste. But we're going to delete the standard deviations because we just want, if you look at the journal article, we just want to display the mean evaluation for each. And we're also going to have error bars that represent the standard error. And remember, the standard error, this kind of tells you that if we looked at the entire population of recruiters who may potentially assess audio versus transcript, this is kind of the range we would expect their intellect ratings to be in if they listened to the audio, right? This, from about, what would this be, like about a 3.25 to like a 4.25 would be kind of the expected range of what we would expect recruiters to rate intellect if they had a transcript instead of audio. And that's, again, in the entire population, because you're always trying to take a sample and then make assumptions about the population. So that's what those error bars represent. Like if we looked at everybody, this is roughly where we think our graph would fall. All right, let's make it happen. So we're going to go to this second version that we copied and pasted. I just Control-C to copy, Control-V to paste. Get rid of these standard deviations. So just click on it, remove the field. Click on it, remove. So anytime you see STDEV, just click on it, remove the field. So now we've got our averages. So make sure you're still clicked in here, the second version. Go up to Analyze, Pivot Chart, and then hit OK, assuming it's column. So at this point, I'm not really happy with the way this graph looks because I want each label along the x-axis to be the different ratings. So intellect, general impression, and hiring likelihood. And then I want the colors of the bars to represent the two different conditions. So the audio versus transcript. But there's a really easy way to fix this. Just make sure that the Design tab is selected under Pivot Chart Tools and select Switch Row Column. And bam, it looks beautiful. I love it. Now, one thing I want to change before we put this into Word and kind of tweak it a little bit, we want to make sure that we have our axes labeled. We also want to make sure that this frequency-based axis over here, or actually this would be the mean axis right here, it represents the means for each one. It actually represents the scale that was used. And in this study, they used a 10-point scale. So let's go ahead and fix that first. So I'm going to click here, then right-click, and go to Format Axis. So again, left-click those numbers, then right-click, Format Axis, and we want our maximum to be a 10. All right, because that was the scale score that we used. That was the ratings that were available from a 1 to 10 score. All right, now let's take a look at this thing. Let's click on it. I'm going to kind of scoot it over here so I can see it, and let's get rid of this. And let's go up to Format, I believe, or is it Design? Design. Go under Quick Layout. We need to, well, let's go under Add Chart Element. We need to add error bars for the standard error. So there's those little lines that you saw. Let's make it bigger so you can see it in the journal article. Right? So let's go down here. Right here. Those are those error bars. Hooray! All right, now we need to label our axes as well, so I'll show you how to do that. So for this, we're going to go to Add Chart Element, Axis Titles, Primary Vertical, because we don't know what these numbers represent. If we just showed this graph to somebody, they wouldn't know what's going on. And we're going to put the recruiter's mean evaluation of candidates. Recruiter's mean, in parentheses, evaluation of candidates. Okay, all right. And then here, we'll change these in Word. We'll edit those here in a minute. And I think this looks good. Maybe we'll actually add chart element. Make sure, again, design is selected. Axis titles, primary horizontal. And we'll put type of rating. Nice. Oh, let's capitalize that R so it's consistent. Cool. So actually, let's edit these labels in Excel. So let's grab this down here and let's edit it here and it'll make it look better here. So we want this, because we already said, you know, the type of rating. So we just want this to say intellect. The next one, and I can make this easier on myself. I double clicked it. Just get rid of average of and rating. Click OK. And then double click here. I'm going to leave higher rating though. Let's see. Maybe hiring likelihood. There we go. Hiring likelihood. I missed an E. There we go. Hiring likelihood. And then hit OK. Now it looks a little cleaner. Now we're ready to Control C to copy. And then Control V right here under number 8 to paste. And then make this big. So beautiful. Now you can play with the colors here if you'd like. Under design, you can go to change colors and you can kind of do whatever you want with it. Since I had a green table earlier, I'm going to go ahead and stick to green here. Also, if you're in a position where you want to like move it around and do stuff with it, make sure that you click on this little thing here, the layout options. You can also find those under format, wrap text, and select square. Now you can kind of move this wherever you want and it'll kind of do your bidding. This will come in handy if you're ever doing a report or something and you're trying to make sure that your tables and graphs go where you want them to go. Now it's being a punk. Let's scoot this down here. There we go. Whoa, what's happening? All right, I'm just going to hit, actually I'm going to hit Control Enter to start a new page there. And now I can make it the way I want. Awesome. All right. So now we're ready to move on to Z-scores. And before we can do Z-scores, we have to compute the standard deviation and the mean, and then we're going to standardize our scores with Z-scores. All right. I'm going to save this too. Well, no, I'll wait. Okay, here we go. So we're moving out of this territory, right? And let's go ahead and just click on this. Right-click the little label down here. Uh-oh. Does it freeze? Okay, we're back. And let's label it pivot table and chart. Cool. All right, now let's go back to our data. So our goal is, and we'll look at the assignment for a second. Eventually, we're going to want to figure out if we have any extremely old or extremely young participants in the study. And that is all based on Z-scores. And remember that the criteria for an extreme score is any score that's above, any Z-score that's above or equal to 2. Or any Z-score that's equal to or less than -2, right? So extremely old in this case would be a Z-score of 2 or above. Extremely young in this case would be a Z-score of -2 or below. So we're also going to look at the mean and standard deviation for age to then get to the Z-score and kind of see what we're working with here in terms of the age of our job candidates, or sorry, our recruiters. So here we go. First thing we need to do, I'm going to go ahead and calculate my mean and standard deviation for the age category. So I'm going to put M age and then SD age, just to kind of label it so I know what I'm working with. And I'm actually going to right click and hit insert here just to add some space here because it's kind of bunched up. All right, so I don't have to get out a calculator and figure out the mean age. I can use the average formula in Excel like we used earlier for the mean scale scores. So I'm going to hit equals AV, then double click the word average, and then I'm going to click the first age, scroll down, hold down Shift, and click the last age to highlight everything instead of clicking and dragging to highlight. Then just hit enter. And the average age is 30.85. All right, so now let's go ahead and do the standard deviation as well. enter, STD, and then you want the one that has an S in it, sample. So double click that. Now it's ready to highlight numbers. So do the same thing you did before. Click the first age, scroll down, hold down Shift, click the last age, and then hit enter. So the mean age is 30.85 and the standard deviation for age is 6.24. So you can go ahead and put that here, your standard deviation here, and your mean here, and then make sure that you take a moment to explain that standard deviation in plain English. So now we need to standardize to create z-scores using our mean and standard deviation. So let's do it. So I'm going to create a column next to age. So I'm going to just right click on the sex column and hit insert. And here I'm going to put Z age because we're going to create z-scores. So the cool thing about Excel that I already demonstrated, you just have to program the formula once and then you can click and drag and it does it for all of the rows. So we don't have to do what I'm doing for every age. We're going to do it once and then we're going to click and drag. So it equals STA in standardize. Double click it. So first thing we want to do, oh, look, it's not letting me. See how it's like overlapping? If you do this, let's see. Actually, let's back out real quick. So whenever it does that, it just means that your columns are too close together. So let's actually make this a little bigger so it won't do that. Let's try again. Equals STA, standardize. It's being a punk, but let's see if we can hit X. Okay, we can actually hit X now, so that's good, even though we can't see it. Then comma. Now this is important. We want to use the same mean and standard deviation for every single value that we're going to copy the formula down for every age. So we want to lock that in. We don't want Excel to be looking for a different mean or standard deviation for every single row. So we're going to hit, because see here it says mean, we're going to click the value for mean, and then you want to hit F4 to lock it in. If for some reason you don't have an F4, then you want to click the value for the mean, and then you want to put a $sign in front of the letter and a $sign in front of the number. Then we hit our comma, then we click our value for standard deviation, lock it in, F4, close it in a bracket, so another parenthesis, and hit enter. Now we can copy that formula down, and all the formulas are going to take whatever age is adjacent to it, but it's going to keep that mean and standard deviation. So we grab it, look for that little plus sign down here at the bottom right, or you could highlight all the way down and hit fill down, but I'm going to use the plus sign method. Click and drag all the way to the last age. And there's your z-scores. Now see how some of these say value? That's because there's no data there. So if you just want to delete those so it doesn't look ugly, you're welcome to do that. It's just like, what's happening? There's no age here. I can't do it. All right. Now let's look at the question that's being asked, right? So we want to know if there's any study participants that are extremely old or extremely young. So instead of going through all these z-scores and trying to find anything below -2 or above +2, let's sort these from lowest to highest. It'll make it really easy to find, right? So all the lowest z-scores will be here, all the highest z-scores will be here, and we can quickly identify any outliers. So let's highlight all of these z age scores. Then we're going to go up here under the Home tab, sort and filter, sort smallest to largest. Expand the selection so that this person's data still remains with them. Everything is going to be rearranged, not just this, because then it wouldn't match the people anymore. Sort. Okay, so now you have your z-scores for age, and you can identify if anybody is extremely young or extremely old. So I hope you enjoyed this exercise in Excel and you feel more confident about Excel. This was very intense. There was a lot going on here. Future Excel assignments probably won't be as intense, but we were doing tables and graphs and means and standard deviations and mean scale scores, and you've learned so much in this video, and I hope that you've enjoyed getting some of the answers and that you're able to think critically about everything that we've done so far.